Hello, my fellow battle sisters. Today we will be looking at one of the greatest warriors the Imperium ever had, the Primarcs. Some backstory on the Primarcs. The Primarch project was a massive scientific experiment before the Unification Wars in the 30th millennium, created from the Emperor's own DNA to help him lead humanity towards a brighter future. However, as all things happen, Chaos did not like this, turning their attention from their infinite battle of the land and the warp. They broke in to where they were holding the baby Primarchs and scattered them across the corners of the galaxy, so that way the Emperor would have to go and collect them. Our Emperor was not discouraged by this and embarked on what they call the Great Crusade, retrieving the Primarchs from their homeworlds. The Emperor found each of the Primarchs and then sent them out to start the Unification Wars, to bring all of humanity together. I will be going over each Primarch in the order of which they were found. First to be found was Horus, also known as Horus Lupercal. Horus' homeworld was a hive world called Chthoniya, and commanded the legion of space marines called Son of Horus. He was the Emperor's favorite, which is why his betrayal and his fall to Chaos was the hardest to accept. Horus was the sole reason the corruption that started the Civil War destroyed what the Emperor had worked so hard to achieve. The Horus heresy will be discussed at a later time, though, as we don't have time to cover it all today. Horus was depicted as a stern man, hardened lines on his face from the years of battle, but a strong demeanor that wasn't easily shaken. Leman Russ, also known as Wolf King and Great Wolf, led the Space Marines called the Space Wolves, and is currently missing after the calamity of the Horus Heresy. Leman Russ was raised on a planet of Ferris, a death world of fire and ice and inhospitable living. He was raised by the very wolves that he led into battle, and took upon human war in battle easily, mastering many forms as he was shown. He is shown as one of long blonde hair braided to one side to keep it out of his face, and fanged teeth he used to survive the planet. Leman Russ was the Emperor's executioner. He would carry out any order that was given to him, willing to kill or defend, whichever you care to see it as, with no question. Manus was the fourth to be found, though no record of the third Primarch exists in the Black Library or any records today. Ferrus Manus, or the Gorgon, was a blacksmith by trade and forged many of the weapons his brothers used in the Unifying Wars and the Horus Heresy. His hands were covered in a metal that allowed him to work without a hammer nor fire, giving him the ability to create art with his blades. Found on a dark, geological, unstable feral world, Medusa, Manus led the Iron Hand Space Marines through his life, though it was short-lived. During the drop site massacre at the start of the Horus Heresy, he was decapitated by his brother Fulgrim by a demon blade that would eventually start Fulgrim on his path to chaos. Fulgrim was fifth to be found and had a vein for beauty and perfection. He was depicted to have long silver hair and was quite vainglorious, and to have chased perfection in his youth. He was found on planet Chemos. Wait. This is not the photo that I chose for this. Where is that photo? How did this photo get in here? Well, Fulcrum is kind of hot, so I thought, no, where did you come from? Who are you? What? Well, I'm the part of you that you got rid of when you became a sister of battle. I thought I buried you deep down. Yeah, well, I'm still kind of here. I'm gonna have to deal with that. Nope. The proper photo. Moving on. He was found on the planet Chemos, which was turned to a civilized world during the Great Crusade, though now is barren of life. Fulgrim is a traitor Primarch, having turned to the Chaos God Slaanesh, who promise perfection in every way, and leads the Space Marines called the Emperor's Children. While his current whereabouts are unknown, we do know that he ascended to Demon Primarch at the end of the Horus Heresy, though we are thankful that there are only few sightings of his Emperor's Children now. Vulcan, leader of the Salamander Space Marines, also one of my favorite Primarchs, was found on Nocturne, both a feudal and death planet. His skin is that of a dark ash that litters the sky of the volcanic planet, and that has a series of eruptions without warning. His piercing red eyes would look upon you, and you would not feel fear, but protection and kindness. He named his Space Marines after the great reptilian creature found on his homeworld, the only things able to survive on the inhospitable planet. He would protect those he was saving on his great crusade. He was kind and gentle. Though one thing to know is that he, like the Emperor of Mankind, is an eternal and incapable of dying. So at this time we have no knowledge of his location, but he is alive somewhere in this galaxy. Rogel Dorn was next to be found on the planet of Inwit. Inwit is a frozen planet, hostile with sub-zero temperatures, with warring tribes and clans scattering the surface. Dorn was said to have risen to the top of these tribes, claiming to have led all of them away from killing one another for supplies and unifying them. His Space Marine chapters were called the Imperial Fists, and they shared his stony gaze and uncaring eyes. He had a crop of unruly blonde hair on top of his head, and believed in his father's visions of mankind so deeply that he was so distant from his brothers. He was supposedly slain later in life aboard a Chaos spacecraft. Guilliman, the Avenging Sun, was born on the rocky and desolate world where 3/3 of the planet is void of life, called Macrage. He was a supreme being of intelligence, cold reason, and indomitable will. Guilliman led the Ultramarines, Space Marines, and was as much of a partisan statesman and emperor building as he was a warrior. For a while he was lost to all of humanity, but Saint Celestine was able to find a way to retrieve him. He is the current Lord Commander of the Imperium and the ruling Imperial Regent. Magnus the Red is one of the few traitor Primarchs still alive, in the only body of Demon Prince to the Chaos God Tzeentch, though he didn't start out that way. Magnus the Red, or the Crimson King, was located on the planet Prospero, Prospero is a planet of knowledge and lore, particularly of sorcery and the warp, so it was fitting that Magnus was found here. Magnus had a great ability of psychic connection to the Emperor, and remembered his past and connections to the great plans the Emperor had. While Magnus knew his grand role in the great plans, he had no hatred toward his destiny, only his fellow brother, Leman Russ, for the exterminatus he brought upon the Thousand-Sun Traitor Legion. Though that was the start of the heresy, we will look at that in depth later. Sanguinius, the great angel, was the closest brother to Horus and was slaughtered by Horus's own hand at the height of the heresy. Sanguinius was found on the planet Baal, a desert planet that was inhabitable besides mutations and feral animals. However, its two moons support life, known as Baal Prime and Baal Secundus, and are seen as a haven to the feral world. Sanguinius was the leader of the Blood Angels Legion, a fierce battalion of space marines that came with a genetic flaw, one that Horus knew about. The genetic flaw was the red thirst. Sanguinius was aware of this flaw, but hid it from the Emperor and his fellow brothers in an effort to protect his space marines. It is said that the moment that Horus slaughtered Sanguinius during the heresy, that every blood angel felt it to their very core and awakened the red thirst. It's a genetic flaw that cannot be fixed. So those of the Blood Angels still suffer it to this day. Lionel Johnson, often referred to as the Lion, was found on Caliban. Caliban was an imperial death world, and I say was, because it was destroyed during a fierce battle between his own corrupted Dark Angels and himself. His legion was the Dark Angels, and are considered some of the most mysterious and powerful Space Marine chapters. They will get their own video when the time comes, but what I want to focus on is the Lion. During his battle against the traitorous legions, he was mortally wounded and put in a stasis chamber to keep him alive. The location of his whereabouts were known only to the Emperor himself, and that secret is lost for the time being. But he is alive somewhere. Mortarion, the Pale King, also fell to chaos, this time to Grandfather Nurgle himself. Mortarion was found on a feral planet of Barbarous, a toxic planet that had a dying yellow sun, which created a thick, mosaic atmosphere of toxic chemicals. The most virulent of these gases rose through Barbarous's perpetual clouds toward the heat of its star, making the world beneath a dismal place of night, unbroken by starlight and possessed of short, shadowy days. He was given the Legion of Death Guard, and turned to Nurgle at the very beginning of the Horus Heresy. He is still one of Nurgle's highest demon princes, and has recently returned to the space during the Plague Wars. Logar, who is a demon prince of Chaos Undivided now, fell to the ruinous powers easily. He was found on a feral planet of Colchis, and the leader to the traitor legion known as the Word-Bearers. He was the first Primarch to fall to chaos, and he did so easily because of the Emperor's actions. During the Great Crusade, eyes turned to him asking why he wasn't conquering planets as fast as his brothers, and what they saw was unforgivable. Instead of going to each planet and raining destruction or force to turn these planets to the Imperium, he was teaching each planet to worship the Emperor as a god. during this time, religion was not allowed. The Emperor was deeply disturbed by this and sent Leman Russ and his space wolves to exterminatus his legion and the worlds he had conquered as a warning to all. Jedediah Khan, the Great Khan, was founded on the imperial Gothic world that inhabits called Krogus. Krogus was different from the other planets, as it was lush with greenery, soaring mountains, and azure seas, and had very little advancements in technology. It is here that is the birthplace of Khan's Legion, the 5th Legion, or the White Scars, was born. Khan led his legion for 70 years before disappearing into the warp, following what he believed to be the Drukhari that destroyed his homeworld. As a result of this, all White Scars will seek out and kill any Drukhari they can find, even going out of their way to find and kill them. Conrad Kurz, better known as Night Haunter, is one of the Primarchs to fall to the ruinous powers. Night Haunter was tortured all his life by terrible dark visions of the future, and this generated a level of psychic anguish and despair that set him apart from his fellow Primarchs. He was a brutal warrior who believed in the use of fear as the most potent weapon against one's foes. As he's taught his Astartes to be brutal and savage as necessary to put down the enemy. He was found on the planet of Nostromo, a hive world that was in perpetual darkness and was destroyed by Night Haunter himself. He led his legion of Night Lords to the very end, being involved in the drop site massacre, and died at the hands of assassins sent by the Emperor himself. While Kurz sided with chaos, he did not align himself with any god in particular, only wishing to use the power they possessed to further his own agenda. Angron, the Red Angel, is another Primarch that fell to the ruinous powers of Khorne, the Blood God. Angron, formerly known as Angronius of Nuceria, was quick to join the powers of the Chaos because of his long-standing grudge against the Emperor of Mankind. He leads his traitor legion, the World Eaters, who are currently in the warp. He was found on the planet of Nuceria, which is now a dead planet. There was once an imperial world that was advanced with technology. Angron is the last Primarch to have fallen to the ruinous powers, and is one of the most bloodthirsty and brutal. There are rumors that he has been seen in real space recently. Let us hope that they are only rumors. Corvus Corvax, the Liberator, the Raven Lord, is the current missing Primarch of the Raven Guard and its successor chapters. His skin was an alabaster white with long raven. I did not write these words, and I did not choose that photo. Was it you again? Well, you know, he's kind of hot. I don't want to be under the eyes of an inquisitor, so could you keep it contained? Well, I can try, but he's pretty freaking hot. And, well, yeah. Alright, moving on. You're not going away, are you? Not anytime soon. Alright. After the drop site massacre, Corax was desperate to repopulate his legion of the Raven Guard. With the Emperor's permission, he delved into genetic testing at his gene seed was lost. What came out were genetic mutants, which brought shame upon himself. he banished himself into the Eye of Terran to repent for his shame. Corax was found on Deliverance, which is a barren and airless moon of the hive world Kivara. Second to last Primarch we do not speak of. The last Primarch to be found is truly shrouded in mystery. Again, one of my favorites. Alfarius, which is a twin of Omegon, led the Alpha Legion, but we have no record of which planet they were discovered on. Alfarius was, without a doubt, the most steeped in mystery, legend, contradiction, and deliberate falsification. The Primarch of the Alpha Legion surrounded himself in mystery, often moving unseen even amongst the ranks of his own legion. It is because of this and the secrecy that I like to think that the twins play the long game. They've been seen not only aiding mankind, but the ruinous powers as well. So the question is, which side are they truly on? Or are they on the side of progression? And which twin is it? Is it Alfarius or Omegon? We have no idea of which is which. This is only a brief look into the Primarchs, the 21. Whether you like it or not, there are 21 Primarchs. Each will have their own video in the coming months, but I wanted to give you an idea of some of the greatest warriors that were on our side that were eventually not on our side. I am St. Gwen, your sister of battle. If you like the video, please give it a like. Please subscribe to the channel as it helps me out greatly. Leave a comment below. Tell me how I'm doing. I will see you in the next one.